Good afternoon. It is October 1st. I am in Los Angeles and I'm Janet McElligott. As many of you know, I was able to meet with the Sudanese Prime Minister when he was in New York for the UN meetings. And they want me to come to Sudan, which I willingly accepted, and I will work with the Sudanese ambassador to do that and to arrange the trip. One of the things they all wanted to warn me about is safety. We know that there are a lot of crazy RSF people running around, but that wasn't the safety they were talking about. They were talking about cholera. They were talking about malaria. So this morning, I sent off letters to the CEOs of Benz-Dietz, which is a spray that helps kill mosquitoes. And that's something that can help prevent malaria. I sent off letters to Halcyon. They make Advil. And I asked them, would you please consider donating some? Because instead of taking a lot of luggage, maybe I can take medicine. And I sent off a letter to Johnson & Johnson, who makes Tylenol. Because even if we can't cure cholera, there are companies that can donate to the Sudan. Today, the federal government shut down. And that means that any help coming from this part of the world is going to have to come from us, each of us. And I was talking to my friend Rose the other day, and we were talking about the wedding that I went to and how wonderful the family was. And it got me thinking about my own family. And a story that my Uncle Dick told me was about my father helped me understand not just who he was, but who I am. He was in the U.S. Air Force for 20 years. And when he was stationed in Rome, New York, at the Air Force Base there, the first black officer for the Air Force that was separate from the whites was going to come to the New York base, and they were trying to find a place to fit him. My father was a captain, and he went into the man who ran the base, the general, and he said, I'd like you to put that man on my team as a navigator. And the general was like, what? He said, no, he needs a fair chance. If he's gotten this far, he's probably one of the best we have. And so the first black to be integrated into the Air Force went onto my father's crew. And the first trip they took down south, I don't know if it was Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi, but it was one of the states that borders Florida. They got to where they were to be billeted, which means they were overnighting. And when they came to check in, the man who was checking in said, he ain't going to stay here, not that color, not that man. And of course he used a derogatory term to describe the navigator. And my father stopped him and said, I want you to look at that man and tell me what color he is. He said, that man black. He said, no, that man's blue. He's a member of the U.S. Air Force and he's a member of my team. He said, and what color is this man? And he points to the next one. He goes, that man's white. He said, no, he's blue as well. We are all blue. We all work for the U.S. government. We all are a team. And we are all going to stay together. The navigator knew it was trouble because they were in the very deep south. And he said, no, Captain. No, I can stay in the black part of town. And there wasn't much they could do about it because the south was not integrated at all. And so my father drove him over to a jute joint. And he found a place to stay there that night. And when they came back to pick him up, the navigator had a great time because all of the blacks were so proud of him, having come so far. But when they got back to New York, Dad went in to see the general and said, we will never stay at that hotel again. They would not allow our team to stay together, and that is dangerous. And the next time they went to the south and they faced the same problem, my father drove the crew 80 miles to the state of Florida, where they found someone who they could stay together. And that is how the Air Force began to be integrated. I didn't know that story until my Uncle Dick was dying, and he said, you should understand something about him. And it's something we know about you, because they taught us we must reach out to help. So I've tagged Johnson & Johnson. I've tagged Haleon. They make Advil. I've tagged the people who make Ben's Deets. We must begin to take things over to help those who have nothing. So please share this and ask yourself to each of these manufacturers to help the people who have the worst humanitarian crisis ever. And we are all praying that Al Fasher will be completely free soon. Thank you.